will hear a lot of different dialects being spoken.
Languages. Okay. In Hakka is not dialect, it's a language. Yes, okay. Because Michael is there, so.
Oh, like it's always considered a language.
I have a station somewhere.
Okay.
So is Cantonese considered a language?
Yeah.
Cantonese.
It's a language, not a dialect. So that's from his point of view, so.
Nice try.
That's debatable, but not right now.
What? That, you don't need to know that, but some people speak more Taiwanese than they speak Mandarin. Okay. Okay, go back.
Okay, dates. I think someone who was that was mentioned before, was it Philip? You were talking about the dates in Taiwan. It's written differently. It's written differently where they will put the year first and then the month and then the date. But another thing you have to know is that a lot of times on official documents, you will see the year 10 something, 105, 106. Because the Taiwanese calculate their years starting from 0 when it was 1911, right? You guys, anyone need to correct me on that?
No,
is that right?
it's okay.
1911. So you will see that every time you see the year 105 or 106, subtract 1911 from the current year, you'll get the Taiwanese year. Okay? So when you see a lot of the official documents, or you're on your pay stub, or your bank receipts, or your license, they will show both the Western year and the Taiwanese year.
When you fill out your birth date, use the Western. Just on some forms.
But make sure you write out 19 something.
Right.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
I want to know, yes, if I want to get my year, my proper year, from the Taiwanese, is that formula?
Yes, just take the year, subtract 1911 from it.
Yeah.
Okay, then I get my proper.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right.
Okay. Climate. As you've noticed, we're in summer right now. It's very hot, very humid. We're subtropical. Taiwan's actually farther south than Florida. There's 2 points where the Tropic of Cancer runs through the island, and they have monuments. One of them's in my city, Chiayi. Celsius is how things are measured. It's very humid and hot during the summer. Winter, cold being about 50 to 40, high 40s.
And it's going to feel so much colder than that.
Because there's not, there's not furnaces. And you may be teaching in a jacket and gloves.
And I have to say, a lot of times the cold here feels very differently from where you're from. It feels cold from the inside out because it's so humid that I feel like your bones, it's from your bones. It's from your bones. Like no matter how many layers you put on, you're still going to feel cold.
Now I feel cold about 2 weeks out of the year. Last winter it was very, very wet. We had a lot of rain, surprised many people. Normally winters are dry here, but it can rain, and cold rain, it's terrible. So just know that there's a big difference whenever you're in a place where you go, oh, it's 50 degrees outside, and then you go in and you crank the heat up to 68, and you feel great. Here, all the buildings are like this. There's a lot of tile, there's a lot of concrete and cement, so prepare for the winter months. Have extra blankets. Some people do space heaters. Just be careful.
Okay. It still gets into the 60s during the day. Don't forget out.
Right.
Yeah, so the other thing is wear layers too.
Right.
Don't just have a nice jacket, have a t-shirt and
Right.
an overshirt and a thicker sweater and a jacket. Wear layers. No, really. Because if it once it's hot, you can take something off as it gets cooler and put more on. Yeah. Not just a nice jacket is not enough.
Yes.
You'll still get sick and get infections in your throat.
And you'll see people drive their scooters with their jackets, and they actually turn their jackets and put them on backwards. Yeah, because it's a windbreak. Yeah. So when you see that, don't be surprised. It actually helps. Okay. Typhoons. Fortunately, we didn't have a typhoon whenever we came back to Taiwan this season. When I left, I was worried, that was early July, that my flight was going to be delayed by typhoons. We do have typhoons, and it's possible that you may have a typhoon day where the government says don't go to work, stay home, and your school will give you the information on how to access it, or they'll contact you. Doesn't happen often, but it may. Strong winds, a lot of rain. So, okay. Have an umbrella. People carry umbrellas for the heat, the sun. People carry umbrellas for the rain. One thing that's going to be helpful is if you have a small bag or a backpack, something to stock is an umbrella, especially if you come to Taipei. For some reason, many times when I was in Taipei, it's raining. Not necessarily a downpour, but it rains more frequently here.
It rains a lot here.
Okay.
And also for those of you who just don't like the humidity, there is an option to get a dehumidifier in your room. And you can probably use your budget. You will have a personal budget to use towards that.
For laundry, some people hang up their clothes. Whenever it's the winter time, obviously your clothes are going to dry slower. You may want to put a fan in your room. So,
Question: Where do we hang our clothes, in our rooms to dry,
some
or
people,
there's an area outside?
well, depending upon where you live, you may have a little balcony area, a little for your window. Sometimes there's a common area. Some people hang a few things inside. Some people do laundry in a sink. Some people do laundry at a laundromat. There are dryers some places. So. Okay.
And I think just depending on your room, if you don't have a window, you don't have sunlight, it may take a lot longer for your clothes to dry in your room. So I've noticed a lot of Taiwanese, they like to dry their clothes on the balcony. Okay, so now we are going to talk about some major holidays here in Taiwan. They're very different from the ones we have in the West. First of all, right now, this is considered Ghost Month, right? Do you remember walking through the street, for those of you who came earlier, and seeing offerings, and people were burning papers and stuff outside on the street? And that's the way of offerings to the ghosts and their ancestors, the deceased. So the Ghost Month is the 7th lunar month, which is right now, right? And I don't know when it's supposed to end, do you know?
Actually, today, I think today is the mid lunar July. Okay, so that means that the biggest feast. So you will see everyone on the street, they're offering, people burning paper and set the fire lantern, set the fire lantern on the river. So actually today is just in the middle. So that means there's still 15 days till the end.
But the Ghost Month is not like Halloween in the States. They're not celebrated with like festivity, but it's a way to honor the deceased. Then next coming holiday you would like to know about would be Moon Festival. Moon Festival will be on the 15th of the 8th lunar month, which I believe will fall on September 15th this year. And I believe that will be especially for us teachers, that will be our first 4-day weekend holiday. So if any of you want to make any travel plans, make sure you do it very early. If you need to book train tickets, flight tickets, anything like that, do it very early because it's a crazy time. Everyone is off, so it's really hard to get tickets. And for Moon Festival, you will see a lot of people will be barbecuing. That's a big tradition in Taiwan. You see that every family will be barbecuing outside their door, and people will eat moon cakes and pomelos. Then after the Moon Festival in September, on October 10th, that's the the Taiwan's National Day, and I believe that's going to be another long weekend for us. I think that's a 3-day weekend.
Yeah, that is really weekend.
So
Long
make sure,
weekend.
so you can make your travel plans for that also. And then after that, I think the next major holiday that's going to come is the Lunar New Year. And that's going to be our longest holiday of the entire school year. And I believe we get around, 2 weeks? I'm not sure how many days. Every year it's a little different, but that will be the longest break we have.
The Chinese Lunar Year.
If you're planning on traveling to other countries, Lunar New Year, great time to do that. But once again, as Van said, if you travel during the holidays, that's also when other people are off, look early.
Go the week before the Lunar New Year. If you go during that New Year, it's a mess.
It's a mess.
Very
Travel is
before.
crazy around that time.
Right, or go, just look at your schedule and what commitments you have with your school. If you have to do a camp or something, but this is our big break, Lunar New Year.
Yes. And that's also up to your school. I know that some schools, the official Lunar New Year holiday for all of Taiwan may be like 4 or 5 days. But some school may let you off a little bit earlier, or you may have to take your vacation days. You will have to talk to your school about that.
That's also when we'll come back for the in-services sometime around the Lunar New Year.
It'll be before we get off for the
Right.
Lunar New Year.
Right.
And then we also have the Lantern Festival, which is the 15th of the first lunar month. And during the Lanterns Festival, you will see a lot of festivities around in many big cities. They will have lots of lanterns. And every year, Taiwan will choose one designated place to host the National Lantern Festival. And we highly recommend that you check it out. It's beautiful, lots of fun and festivity. And James would know a lot about that.
Okay, well, recently they've started having the near an HSR station, which makes wonderful sense because people will travel from other countries to attend Taiwan's Lantern Festival. They have a huge lantern shaped like the zodiac character for the coming year, and it'll light up and spin around. It has all these LEDs in it, and then there's the local community will have create their own smaller lanterns. It's a huge deal, and it's something really special to see. You can get great photos. I suggest going earlier in the day to see the lanterns before they light up, and then plan on being there in the evening so you can see whenever they're lit. Buy your tickets to leave early. Don't expect to walk up to the counter at the HSR station at the end of your visit and you're going to catch your train. So, go ahead.
Okay, so after the Lantern Festival, in April, we will have Tomb Sweeping Day, which is a day when family will visit the tombs of their ancestors and pretty much clean up the tomb and do offerings. On that day, usually it's next to Children's Day, or it coincides with Children's Day here, so normally we would get a long holiday, a couple of days off for that too. Then in June, that will be your last holiday before we get out for the summer. And that's the Dragon Boat Festival. And I think some of you have asked me about the Dragon Boat Festival before. That day, a lot of places around Taiwan will host dragon boat races. So if that's something you would like to see, you can look up information on that and see. It's really interesting. I know Kaohsiung usually has it on the river, Love River, and Taipei will have it too.
Tainan's really good.
Tainan.
You may be asked to participate on a dragon boat team. And some places take this very seriously. A dragon boat, you have a group of people in a long boat, someone's banging a drum to keep time, and you're racing to try to pass the goal line before other people. So it's cool to see. It's also a time whenever it's really hot and sticky, so just be aware.
Okay. And also, unfortunately, there is no Christmas break here in Taiwan, and Christmas is not considered a national holiday here. And for those of you who are also from the States, there's no Thanksgiving break that we're used to.
Is it January 1st holiday in Taiwan?
January 1st, yes, you do get January 1st off. One day, just one day off.
Speaking of January 1st, if you like fireworks, and I've heard different stories about that they're going to stop doing it, but I've heard that for the past 5 years.
Yeah, I know that.
Taipei 101 has beautiful fireworks. They actually set them off at different stations on the tower. It's short, lasts for about 2 minutes, but it's amazing. Taipei's very crowded. Book your room early. There are,
Book it at least like 1 or 2 months in advance, right?
yeah,
2 months at least.
last year I booked my room in September.
Yeah.
Thousands and thousands of people are there. They have a huge concert. It's televised. It's like Times Square. It's one of the best places in the world to see fireworks. We're talking New York, Sydney, Taipei. Yes. And so it's certainly something to consider. You're going to probably be teaching your students about Christmas and about Thanksgiving. We don't get those days off. I'm sorry. It can be a lonely time. But just remember, Lunar New Year, when all your friends are working back home, you're on a beach in Bali, or you're bumming around Singapore, Tokyo, or Thailand.
Backpacking Asia.
I know we're only on the first slide, so I'm going to be quiet.
Yeah.
Okay, I have other things to tell you, but later.
So here are just a few pictures from the festivals we've attended. This is the Dragon Boat Festival in Taipei. This here is part of the Lantern Festival, but this is the Sky Lantern. And there's an area in New Taipei you can go to called Pingxi, where you can light the Sky Lantern and let them set them off into the sky. And it's a pretty cool experience. I'd recommend it. And so here, yes, make your wish. You can write your wishes on your lantern and set them off. And this is that big lantern festival we were talking about. Every year they will have one. Okay. All right, James.
Okay. School life. As we talked about, students, for the most part, you're going to find that they are very well behaved. They're respectful. The kids are adorable. Really. I love coming to work and having all of these children greet me, you know, good morning, teacher, good morning. It's just great. So that's going to be one of the best parts of your day is the hellos and the goodbyes, but it happens all day long. Students clean their rooms. There's usually 2 breaks, 20-minute breaks during the day. They clean the school, they clean their rooms. They also, there's not a common cafeteria. They will have the food brought from the kitchen to an area outside the rooms. They serve each other. And you see these little first grade students with the hairnets and oh, it's so cute. Classrooms. You're going to have fans similar to this. You're not going to have AC most likely. I will sometimes teach with my, very close to the fan that's on the wall. No recess. They do have about 10-minute breaks. You are going to see some horseplay that really surprised me when I was first here. Stuff that, if as a teacher in America, I would just say, no, we're not doing that. But here, they don't get recess. So during the break, they'll be playing some games, or there may be some, I call it horseplay, but it looks like wrestling. I'm serious.
Yeah.
2 boys, and they're like, and I'm like, no, stop that.
It's perfectly okay.
It's okay here. Nap time.
The best thing.
It's hot. People here work very hard. a lot of your colleagues, they are working on their masters, some of them are working on their doctorate, they're going to school, they're working late, they have family commitments. They come to school, they do their job, they're tired, and the heat will drain you. So during lunch, typical lunchtime, we have about a half an hour for lunch, then there's a half an hour of chatting and surfing, and then there's about a half an hour of nap time. So people crash, and you will see, you know, directors and friends and colleagues, they just go to their desk.
The whole office falls asleep.
Yeah,
Right.
Everybody falls asleep on their desk.
In the classroom, the homeroom teacher's there, the homeroom teacher, the lights are off, the homeroom teacher's in the back, and they appoint a couple of students to like be the, you know, the nap police. And if kids are talking, they write their names or their numbers on the board. Knives. You know the little X-Acto cutters?
Yeah,
The things
the
that,
crafts knives,
yeah,
every kid will carry one here. They're
Right.
really good at using them. That's not a problem here. Yeah, I've seen first graders pulling out a knife and just use it. They actually, I think they use their knives like better than scissors. But that really surprised me coming from America. Oh my gosh, if a kid pull out a knife, that's, you have
there'd
to
be a
report
weapon,
that.
there'd be a mandatory suspension. Yes, okay. Sports day. Your school's gonna have a sports day. It may be in December, it may be in the spring. The sports day is where the parents come to visit, the kids compete in like relay races. They'll set up booths, they'll sell food, you may be responsible for some kind of an activity, there'll be performances, songs, dances. It's like an open house, but it's not.
That's field day.
Yeah, it's not education oriented, it's more field day, yeah. It's on a Saturday. You're gonna be working a Saturday for sports day, but you're gonna get a day off during the week before or after
And
sometime.
you get makeup days for any
Yes.
time you have to work on during the weekend.
Speaking of makeup days, those nice holidays that we pointed out, if it's like a 3-day weekend or a 4-day weekend, sometimes you're going to be required to make up that nice Friday that you got off.
So for example, if the holiday falls on a Thursday,
Right.
the government will go ahead and give you that Friday off to make it a long weekend for you. But you will have to make up that Friday, maybe the week before that. So you will have to work an additional Saturday just to
Right.
get your long weekend.
Right, so just expect that kind of stuff. Last minute, notice, sometimes the schedule changes. As teachers, be flexible. Just be aware of that. Substitutes, if we're sick, our schedule's going to be modified. So maybe you're out, cold, flu, whatever, for a day. Your classes that day will probably be moved to later in the week or the following week. If another teacher takes your class and covers for you, you will pay them out of your pocket. That's different than in the US. So there'll be a set fee that you will, an amount that you'll pay them if they're your sub. Okay? Some of us, we need a sub because like at an English Village, kids need a class, that class can't be rescheduled. So, okay. School soldiers, TDIE, one
I
of the
think
words.
a lot of you have already made contacts and talked to your school military guy, the English military guys.
Yep. TDIE, one of those words I say, and people are like, oh, your Chinese is so good. And I'm thinking, it's just T-D-I-E. Two of them are letters, and there's a die in the middle. In Taiwan, if you're male, you're required to spend a year of service. It's actually a little less than a year because they go to training. They may be high-level English speakers. They may help you. Some of them are people that come back from abroad. Australia, South Africa, America. So the TDIEs are good friends, They may be people you want to hang out with. I'm amazed that Taiwan does this. These guys get paid very little, and they work very hard, and they live on campus. So give them your respect, and you know, just know that they're there. Yes.
What's their role? What's their role?
Their role, sometimes they're at the front gates just to see who comes and goes. Sometimes they're helping set up things, tear down things. Sometimes they're doing things like, maybe they're in the classroom with you to help you with your teaching. The school can assign it. Sometimes they're mowing the lawn. I mean, it can vary greatly. Yeah, okay.
Question?
But, so every school has one of that in the countryside?
Not every school, I don't think so.
And some schools have more than one, and sometimes they'll be at different events. There was actually, I saw Tina, was it dinner last night?
Yeah,
There's a group of them that are designated as the English PDAE. The English one, there are less of them, so not every school will have one. So if you're fortunate enough to have one, be thankful. But some school will have one that's just a Chinese one that may or may not speak English as well.
The TDI actually didn't get paid because they are in service,
Right.
so they didn't get paid.
Right,
They're
but I mean,
serving.
they get paid, don't they get paid a
No,
little?
no.
No money?
No allowance?
They have salary, they have.
Very, very little.
That's like military service.
Right,
Yes.
right, but they're not, they may do some military training, but they're not soldiers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so now, yeah, you have a question?
Okay, the makeup day is, we're required, and the students are required to be in school so many days during the year. Yes, so if we take like a 4-day weekend, we may need to make up one of those days. And that day is going to be made up on a Saturday. So,
You might get a holiday in the middle of the week, but you might get a holiday on a Tuesday.
Right.
Follow the moon rigidly, so some
Yeah.
holidays will be a
yeah,
So that means that the kids go to school on a Saturday?
right.
Oh, okay.
And you go to school on a Saturday.
It's just like a
I've
regular
done
school
it.
day.
Right.
Okay.
It doesn't happen often, but when it happens, everybody's like, ah.
It's usually a Monday on the schedule, right?
Yeah, you should have Monday, or sometimes.
Or sometimes it's a Friday.
Yeah, sometimes you can take a Friday off and you make up the.
Yeah.
Question.
Yes.
You spoke about having to pay
The sub,
substitute.
yes.
Yeah, but then if you make up that day, you get paid.
Well, okay,
Is it possible?
well, there's two different things that could happen.
Yes.
One, someone covers your class.
Yeah.
If they cover your class, that class is taken care of, you will pay them.
Okay.
Or the Office of Academic Affairs, they may completely change your schedule and you come in with a stack of like pink papers and it says, you need to go here on this time and here on this time. And
They move your classes.
they move your classes, then you're not paying a sub, but you're still working those same number of hours.
Or you'll trade with that teacher, you'll look at your schedules and you'll match it over the period.
Right.
The pay is about 450 NT, you have to give them cash, you had to pick up the class.
Yeah, it will be stated in your contract.
Right.
It will say how much you have to pay.
Now, does the registrar or the bursar or whatever take it out of your salary? Because you pay them in cash.
You actually hand it to them.
You give them in cash.
Yeah, you
Give
pay them in cash.
Because
You
you're
give
still
them
getting
so
the
you
money in your
pay.
salary.
No,
So this is completely informal.
Right.
Bill.
it's like, oh, I owe you here. And they're like, and some people are, no. And you're like, yes. And then some people, it's like, oh, I don't have change. And they're, it's okay, I'll get back to you.
Yeah. If you have a co-teacher that will just tell you, oh, no problem, I'll just cover it
Yeah.
for you, don't worry about it.
You still pay.
Yeah,
Well,
try it. It's just
if you're missing, let's say I'm teaching Monday, and I'm supposed to teach 3 classes on Monday. I only have to pay a sub for the 3 classes where I have students. Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying, if you're sick. Then I have to pay for those 3 classes, or they take those 3 classes and they'll move them to like Thursday and Friday. So my Thursday and Friday now is very busy.
No sick days.
No sick days?
There are no sick days.
Well,
I believe if you take, like, maybe, is it 2 or 3 or more days, and you have a doctor's note, then you don't have to pay the sub.
I'll just make one note in here.
this is why keeping good relation with your co-teacher is important, because if you have to make up